Welcome back to another Jag Bros podcast. We can breathe a sigh of relief. The Jags have finally gotten a W, and I'm here with my two older brothers, Jack and JT. Us three make up the Jag Bros. We are going to start off this podcast giving some game balls for some excellent performance out of the players. We're going to break down kind of what went wrong, why it got real scary, and then go on from there. So, Jack, who are our MVPs or game balls for this game?
Man, there are fortunately so many. This was in many ways a career day, so I'm going to be curious who y'all choose. But, before we even get into the game, JT, I know y'all are in Fort Myers area, and obviously the number one state, number one area for our podcast for the Jag Bros is Florida. And so just wanted to say a word from us that, we are praying for all who are in Florida, all who are in harm's way. Be safe, and just know that, again, we always say we love Jags fans and hope everyone stays safe through this storm and through this hurricane. But yeah, it's great to be on and finally be able to hand out game balls because we haven't done it through the first four losses. And a lot of guys to pick from, but I'm going to go with the rookie sensation, Brian Thomas Jr., 5 catches for 122 yards, a touchdown. That touchdown catch was the second longest touchdown in Jaguars history. He has been spectacular. I've been high on him since day one. I loved him back in January doing pre-draft work. I said, this guy is special. And yet, even as high of an expectation as I had of him, he's exceeded all that. That touchdown run also was the fastest clocked NFL run so far this season, over 22 miles per hour. In fact, one of those guys that was playing defense for the Colts has already been waived. Maybe not because of that play, but my game ball goes to BTJ.
Yeah, thanks for the shout out there at the top. I live in Fort Myers. It's part of why our schedule's been a little bit delayed this week. I've been prepping not only my house, but some of our neighbors and other friends with hurricane shutters and helping clean out houses where the hurricane might have some flooding issues. So taking out furniture, taking out interior doors, trying to save what you can with the expectation that your house might be flooded. So a little bit of an interesting week down here in Southwest Florida, and should be an interesting next 48 hours or so for us too. But back to the Jags. Yeah, I love it. BTJ looked awesome. I was been completely wrong on him. He has lived up, but so has almost all the other first round picks, rookie wide receiver picks so far. They've all looked really, really good. It's nice to see us having made a first round splash rookie wide receiver pick. But I think it has to go to Trevor. For over 300 yards passing, multiple touchdown throws, was in command of the game offensively for most of that game. And then in the fourth quarter, we consistently needed him to step up, and he did. Multiple drives where our defense put the pressure back on the offense to maintain. That's a game Jacksonville could have easily lost with how the Colts were playing and how we were playing defensively. Great game by him. He's been averaging about 2 to 3 300-yard games per season. It's nice to see him finally get one of those in 2024.
And happy birthday to Trev. We know you're listening to the pod right now, so happy birthday, Trev. Yeah, it was an awesome game. Career high for him in passing yards. Let's go, T-Law.
Well, my game ball has to go to Tank Bigsby, who I called at the beginning of this season. He just looked like he was ready to explode, and he has really come onto the scene these last 2 games. Huge run from him. He was not going to be caught from behind this time. And then another one where Cleveland helped shove him into the end zone. It was a great outing for Tank. A lot of people are gaining confidence in him. He's getting a lot of touches, and I'm not ready to close the book on ETN. He is still a huge part of this offense. He's great in the pass game, as he started off the game, getting us a few first downs. So I think that a good mix between these two, and we could have a really seriously good running game.
Joey, you called at the beginning of the year. You said Tank Bigsby could be a running back 1 in run A and 1B there with ETN. Now, ETN has been banged up. He did not play or not touch the ball most of the second half. We actually saw a decent amount of Dearness Johnson back there too. So something to be mindful of. But look, this is why the Jaguars decided to spend the draft capital they did on Tank Bigsby last year, is I think with the eventual, hey, let's let ETN walk and get just as much production from Tank. And right now he's showing that to you. So before we start crowning him, I mean, the Colts have one of the worst defenses besides us in the league. So let's see it again next week against the Bears, where Tank Bigsby experiment has been very interesting this year. Where one game he's going for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, the next game he's getting 4 touches for like 3 yards. So we'll see what happens with these next couple of weeks. But you've been spot on, Joey. He's been great. And then one other guy to give a game ball to is Travon Walker. 3 sacks for him. We have continually been frustrated with his performance in relation to Aiden Hutchinson. Awesome game for him against the Colts with a nice breakout 3-sack game.
100%. And there's no surprise that most of our game balls go on the offensive side of the ball. You put up 37 points and the offense played very, very well. Yes, the Colts defense was bad, but maybe this was what we needed to turn it around. I've been playing the Jags villain the last couple weeks, and so that's at least put to bed or at least maybe crouching at the door, but I'm going to have a glass half full approach today, and that is a lot of because of the offense dropping 37 points. And I thought the coolest thing too about Tank Bigsby having a big game was the fact that ETN was mic'd up that game. You can go watch it on the Jags YouTube channel, and he was more excited than anyone else about Tank's success. And, you know, we've talked a lot about coaching failures. And, hey, if we go lose in London, go back and listen to our thoughts from last week on potential head coach options for the Jaguars. But one way to get around maybe less than great coaching is having players, veterans like ETN, like Christian Kirk was singing BTJ's praises. If these guys can take some of the younger guys under their wings and cheer them on and show them, hey, here's what to do, here's how to make the big play, that is one way that you can kind of get around poor coaching. So I loved seeing that from ETN, being the biggest fan of Tank, having a career day, career high rushing yards, career high running touchdowns as well.
Let's jump into the offensive side of the ball. Offense was excellent. They scored 37 points in the game, almost 500 yards of total offense, 371 yards passing for Trevor, 123 also on the ground, majority of that coming from Tank Bigsby. One of the big plays that we saw was the 85-yard touchdown pass that Brian Thomas Jr. that Jack has already referenced a couple of times. What was your take from the offense?
What I saw was our offensive line finally stepping up and having a second good game. They played well against Houston, and I know the defensive line was beat up against the Colts, but they really did well. We've seen, seems like this offensive line coming together and not being the best, but being average to almost above average. And if we can keep this going, this is what I think the offense needed to spark it, because we're able to run, which opens Trevor up to passing. And it looked like Trevor was just finally not caring. It looked easier for him for the first time. It wasn't like he was forcing it or really overthinking anything. It looked smooth for the offense since pretty much 2022.
Look, the Colts secondary is trash. We talked about that in the preview episode. That is definitely their weak link of the entire team. But the O-line showed you, hey, this is what peak Trevor Lawrence can look like when he gets time. To give up no sacks, to give up 0 quarterback hits. I don't even know that I've ever watched a Jaguars game where a quarterback has never gotten hit. That's incredibly rare, certainly for Jacksonville, and just rare in the NFL as a whole. This is a Colts defense that averaged somewhere around 3 sacks a game, and so a ton of credit goes to the O-line. You're right, Joey. Back-to-back good games. They played very well against the Texans as well. So maybe this is a turning point. And, you know, you're rarely going to see a game ball go to an O-line. But Ezra Cleveland actually had our highest Pro Football Focus grade in this game with a 91.1, over 90 in run blocking and over 90 in pass blocking. So if he can become a very good interior presence for us, that'd be huge.
The whole game hinged on Jacksonville's offense, especially in the second half. In our last 5 possessions, we went touchdown, 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 punt, field goal. So you're scoring 24 points in our last 5 possessions in the second half. Absolutely critical for the Jaguars to have done that. It's something where we've seen us time and time again this year falter. Yes, we've referenced the fumble by ETN in the end zone in week 1 a couple of times, but the reality is the offense went backwards. I think they had negative yards for the rest of the fourth quarter. And then the following game against the Browns, I think we had like 10 yards in the fourth quarter. We had 15 yards again in the fourth quarter and against the Texans. So to see us perform when it mattered the most was really encouraging. From a hey, potential concern perspective, we are still 3 of 10 on third down. So those high leverage moments is still something we want to be thinking about. And you're right, Jack, the offensive line played great. It'll be interesting to see how we do against the Bears, who have an elite front seven, if our offensive line is able to still hold up.
You brought it up that the offense used to not really make the play when it was needed, and we kept going 3 and out and fourth down, or 3 and out in the fourth quarter. And a play that will go unnoticed a lot of times, but was so huge, was the Dearness Johnson breaking a tackle on that little swing pass to, instead of being second and 12, it ended up being second and 3 because he broke that tackle and was able to get about 8 yards or 7 yards up the field and put us in a much shorter second down than if we were stuck in another long second down, missed throw, third down, punting away. That kind of really solidified the game and allowed us to keep moving the ball. So I loved seeing the second effort in this team. Finally seeing a team that cared. Ezra Cleveland pushing Tank with that second effort. Dearness Johnson breaking tackles for second effort. It was just great to see the energy back in that offense.
Yeah, only a couple penalties. I think Jackson only had 3 penalties all day. I didn't see any false start. Sorry, I didn't see any delay of game penalties. We seem to be a little bit cleaner on the offensive side of the ball from that perspective. That's been a killer. And Joey, it's a great point about that play because Jacksonville in general operates much better in when they're ahead of the count, if you will, when they're second and medium, second and short, third and short, and any time where Trevor is not pressured. We've talked about this before, but his splits between when he's not pressured and when he is one of the more drastic ones in the league. And so when Trevor's has time and Trevor's not blitzed, he can actually look good. So the biggest thing from here is ideally this is a situation where momentum is captured from this that you can carry on going into London.
That's the big question. This was, as you said right up top, Joey, this is a sigh of relief. There's a little bit of release of some pressure. But yes, you're 1-4. And the question is, will this propel the Jags into momentum? Because the offense, pretty much everyone played extremely well. Christian Kirk was a guy that almost had 100 yards, and it seems like no one's even mentioning him. He had that big play in the fourth quarter, 4 catches on 4 receptions for 88 yards. And the only guy who has not stepped up at all yet has been your boy, Gabe Davis, Joey. Hopefully he can turn it around in London because that was not another game that was not very pretty. 3 catches, 38 yards, offensive pass interference, was getting into Trevor's face. Also had the costly fumble at the end of the first half as well. You know, I'm keeping the glass half full because if I was not, I would be saying, hey, maybe start Tim Jones, maybe trade Gabe Davis back to Buffalo, but I'm keeping it half full. Hopefully Gabe Davis will turn it around. But just overall, love what I saw from the Jags offense. Again, this was not a good defense, but we've seen the Jaguars struggle against bad defenses. So to be able and go out and seal the game, score 37 points, huge. Love it.
Yeah, I'm off the Gabe Davis train. I thought he was going to come and give us more. He looked great in the preseason, kind of going over the middle. And even in the Dolphins game, the first game, had some really nice catches. But I don't know. He has been slower, kind of been in his head maybe. I don't know. It hasn't looked great. His route running hasn't looked great. Hopefully he can turn it around, wake himself up because I know that he can play better. I've seen him play better. I just hope that he can bring it.
The problem he was in Buffalo. He'd have these little peaks and little moments and glimmers of hope. followed by just a bunch of nothing. And so I think that's why Buffalo was willing to walk away from him. This is why I wanted Mooney back in the day. And oh, by the way, he's done amazing in Atlanta so far. So it'll be interesting to see how Gabe Davis provides. Ultimately, the way I look at him is similar to when we had Marvin Jones, a guy who can probably get you 3 and 50 occasionally, and maybe a good red zone target because of his height and stuff, but he's not going to be somebody who we should be designing our offensive game plan around.
Speaking of designing the offensive game plan around, I just got to give one more shout out. I mean, I'm so all in. I'm thinking about this week ordering a number 7 Brian Thomas Jr. jersey for the Jags because he's on pace right now for 75 catches, 1,350 yards, and 10 touchdowns. He's currently in the entire NFL, 6th place in receiving yards and 6th in touchdowns, in 1st place in both those among rookie wide receivers. Again, which you said earlier, JT, this is a stacked wide receiver class, and he has been special. And the scary thing for the league is every game, every week, he looks to play better and better and better. And so he's got a tough matchup against Chicago in one of their corners, Jones, and I'm really, really curious to see how he's going to do. But man, I am so on board with BTJ.
You bring up the Bears defense, but we're going to need to talk about our defense real quick.
Ouch.
Because that's why we had a sigh of relief, because it almost became a nightmare situation in Jacksonville if we ended up losing that game. Our safety play is horrendous. Cisco needs to pack it up and leave. I'm so glad we didn't pay him. He has had a terrible year. Antonio Johnson is looking more like a rookie than he did his rookie season, and it's just been really bad in that secondary. What do you guys see?
Not a good team. I don't understand what they're doing. There's not a whole lot of strategy that makes a lot of sense to me. It looked like the Colts could do whatever they want. The only reason why this wasn't worse is because Trey Sermon's a terrible running back. Like, it wasn't like we were all of a sudden doing well at stopping the run. I just don't think he's a very good running back. Watching him play. And then you're up multiple scores in the fourth quarter. You know what's going on, and they're just bombing you. And you can't stop Alec Pierce and Josh Downs. Like, you're not going to be able to play better against the better people. So yeah, maybe Campbell comes back and it's some sort of revelation. But in reality, we've seen what Campbell is, and he's not somebody that is Darrelle Revis or even Jalen Ramsey. So I'm extremely concerned. I think Jacksonville in general will struggle to keep teams in check on a consistent basis. Heck, we even saw Joe Flacco run for a 21 yard run in that game. I can't imagine what Anthony Richardson would have done on the ground. So yeah, there's not a whole lot that I feel confident about, especially considering this defense can't even create turnovers. So if they're not creating turnovers and they're trying to play a bend don't break style, but all you're doing is breaking on key third downs and in the red zone.
Okay, I'm going to try my best to keep it glass half full with the Jags defense. And it is a huge challenge because it was bad. You had Jonathan Taylor, the best player on the Colts offense, out. You had AR out, which a lot of Jags fans, and looks like rightfully so, said we were going to struggle more with Flacco than AR. The glass half full scenario for the Jags defense, for the Jags secondary, for me right now is you played decent through 3 quarters. You kept them to 10 points. In the next 2 games, you go against 2 rookie quarterbacks and Caleb Williams, who, yes, is probably going to torch us, but he is a rookie playing overseas, so maybe that helps you a little bit. And then you also have Drake May. The Patriots have announced him as a starter. And over those 2 weeks, you should get back Tyson Campbell. Doug Pearson seems very, very optimistic for a week 7 return for Campbell. Dewey is making moves to get back out on the field. We have Gibson coming back from after week 6, his 6-week suspension, because I think clearly it's a talent issue. Joey, you pointed out the safeties have been terrible this season. If you look at their PFF grades across the year, both of them are just over 40, which is brutal. Missed a lot of tackles, looked like a huge liability in coverage. Pretty much every bomb that the Jags defense have given up, you can see Cisco about 5 yards behind whoever is running down the sideline. But part of it, I think, too, is a depth issue that clearly the fourth quarter, these guys are tired. They're not getting rotated as much as they need to. and potentially glass half full, we get some more guys back there. But the secondary, there's no other term other than it's got to play infinitely better.
Yeah, hopefully that those new guys can come in and bring some life a little bit to this defense. I know Wingard is always the lifeblood of the defense, kind of really. I can't believe I've ever been saying this, but I want him out there. I
Yep.
remember when we first got him, I was like, please get him off the field. But he is actually developed and is a above average safety, and he comes up and he plays hard and plays with heart. And that's all we really need because Darby's not getting it done either on the other side. He's been a miserable signing. He played so much better with the Ravens. I don't know. He's getting burnt. He's always trailing his wide receiver. It's just not good in the secondary. I really hope not Ryan Nielsen can figure out a way to get this defense to play all four quarters because he does get them to right the ship, but we've come out slow. We've given up a touchdown on the first drive for the last 3 games, and then we end terribly. So I don't know if it's conditioning or what, but that can't keep happening. You can't give up a touchdown on the first drive, and you can't give up touchdowns on the last drives as well.
Yeah, like I said at the top of the show, the only bright spot was Walker getting 3 sacks as well as that strip sack. Josh Hines Allen so far is playing more like how I projected him to have played last year. So you have questions now. Is he injured? Is there are teams game planning for him, or did he just is the effort not there now that the bag has been paid? And so that there's some question marks because you paid him as if he is the TJ Watt or Aiden Hutchinson or that caliber of defensive end that is extremely disruptive. And you just don't hear his name called very frequently at all. And so that's certainly concerning for us. And the fact that we have zero depth on at edge rusher is a big concern. Eric Armstead, look, all these people that are excited to have stolen someone from the 49ers, myself included, the reality is starting to set in. These good teams with good GMs, the only way you're quote unquote prying these guys from that good team is because that good team didn't let them walk, right? You saw what the 49ers are doing with Brandon Ayuk right now. They're willing to give him the money after other teams were initially interested in him. If the talent was there, they would have found the money. I don't think they thought he was going to be that good. And so far for us, he's not been that good.
Oh, I disagree with almost everything that you have just said, JT. Josh Allen, yes, hasn't gotten the sacks that he got last year, but he's still wrecking havoc. He's still constantly the highest PFF graded edge guy and is really doing well when that defensive line for the last 2, 3 games had done nothing. He has helped Travon shine because he pushes the quarterback to the right, and then Travon's been able to scoop up these sacks lately. And I just have to disagree with you completely. Yes, he's not quite getting to the quarterback as he was last year, but he's still putting in work, and I still see him constantly. So totally disagree there. You're just going to have ups and downs on the sack. I think he'll still end up with double digits. I just don't think it's going to be anywhere near 17. It'll probably be around 11. And then I think Travon will have the much higher, maybe 15, 16 this year. With Eric Armstead, he is a D tackle. We are constantly putting him at D end. You're completely right, is our edge depth is terrible. We have 2 edge guys and then 2 D tackles that we're trying to make edge guys, and they're just not fast enough and they're not good enough. Eric Armstead is a D tackle, and his one good play on this team came from the inside when he played D tackle. Everyone knows that he's a D tackle. We've tried this experiment. He wanted to be a D end when he came here. I don't know why we allowed him to, but he's got to play his makeup game and try to be something that he's not. It's over. He's not fast enough. He's not good enough as an edge guy. You have to move him back to D tackle. And then you have to go out and just sign someone, trade for someone. Somehow you need to go get another edge guy because out of an absolute idiotic move, you traded your only little bit of depth away for a 6th round pick for nothing. You have to go now fill that gap because Roy Robertson Harris is not an edge guy, and Eric Armstead has shown you multiple times he is not an edge guy. He's way too slow.
Not powerful either. I watched him play a lot in this game because I've dogged on him several episodes saying, hey, he can't even get out on the field more than 50% of the play. The reality is, it's a swing and a miss. JT, you are 1,000% right on
Thank
Armstead.
you.
Look at the 49ers. They brought everyone back. They paid everyone, and they did not pay Armstead. They didn't even seem to offer him anything. They knew something. They knew he's been injured the last couple of years, and he's just slow, and he's not making powerful moves. Hey, Travon Walker had 3 sacks, and he forced that Josh Hines-Allen sack. So in many ways, kind of getting close to 4 sacks. How did he do it? All through power. Armstead was lining up on the offensive tackle and got no leverage, no power. He's a solid second or third string guy that you're paying way too much money.
Exactly. You're spot on that one. That one is you're like, yes, it could be an excuse that he's playing the wrong position, but the reality is he's just not making any type of impact. And as far as Josh Hines-Allen goes, right now he's around 17th to 20th on the hurry rate. Last year he was top 5 in that type of stat. So again, Joey, you're right. He's invisible. He's not done nothing, but he has 2 sacks in the season, but based off of the expectations that we had, the money we're paying from him, and what we've seen him be able to do in the past, he is not being as disruptive as need be. And oh, by the way, it's not like we've been playing murderer's row of offensive lines recently either. The Texans offensive line's terrible. The Colts offensive line's not great. And some of the other teams have their own deficiencies. The Browns give up about 5 to 7 sacks a game, and we didn't see his name called a ton. So that is my frustration, is not that, oh, he's not playing good. He's playing good, but he's not playing great, and he's certainly not playing elite.
Sorry, I forgot. I'm keeping the glass half full. Josh Hines-Allen does get some really good opportunities in London. Again, going up against 2 rookie quarterbacks. That's a game you got to take over because, yes, you are being paid now at star level. And this is what we've said a ton about Trevor. When you're paid at that level, you've got to start performing at that, not once every 4 or 5 games, but pretty consistently. So maybe we see a 2 or 3 sack game coming up in London.
That would be huge, and that would change the trajectory right now. But like you look at the guys that are around, like the Micah Parsons of the world, the Nick Boses of the world, the TJ Watts, the Chris Jones, like these guys, 80% of the games, they are disruptive, and they are a team, the other team has to game plan for him. Right now, what I'm seeing out of Josh Hines-Allen is a slightly worse version of what we saw last year, which was in that level, and that's my concern. I'm not saying that he's done or that he's not where he's at. It's certainly no Armstead out there, but I've been slightly disappointed where his performance has been thus far.
Fair enough. And we'll see with Josh Hines-Allen. In one more thought, we have to look at special teams too and coaching. Man, again, if you were to give another game ball, Cam Little deserves a lot of praise. Goes 3 for 3. Rookie 21-year-old kicker hits a game winner, 49-yarder. Let's go, Cam. Love the celebration. He's a guy that sometimes has more celebration and more fire than anyone else, but was really, really cool to see for this, in many ways, kid have this incredible moment, game-winning moment for him and for the Jags.
I just have one thing to say, and that is right down Main Street. That kick was perfect. I love him tweeting that out right afterwards. He gets it. He looks like he's having fun. He is great with the fans. We're going to have this kid for a long time. I can see he's got such a powerful leg, such confidence, and a little bit of swag too. I love to see it, and I love to see that we have a franchise kicker, it seems like.
One other play, Duvernay had a big 53-yard return that gave a lot of momentum as well. But just for coaching, it was good to see Doug re-engaged, get the guys excited. They went for 4th down twice in the first quarter. He trusted the guys, gave them opportunities. And so, hey, there's a ton of negative on coaching. Doug is still number 1 on most people's NFL board for hot seat of coaches, with the Jets coach being fired. But coaching deserves some credit here too.
Yeah, great game for him. Great game for special teams. And outside of the defense, really all the other aspects of the Jaguars team stepped up.
Yeah, offensive coaching was good. Defensive coaching, really poor. Well, I should say they were good up until the 4th quarter. And then it was really bad. I mean, I've never seen a defensive coordinator react like Ryan Nielsen did when we gave up the tying touchdown, just hands on knees, like has no idea what's going on. He needs to get control of that defense and figure out how to bring some life back into them because they need to be able to do much, much better. But hats off to Doug and Press. They finally had a really good called offense, and it was put together pretty well. That's all I have to say. Well, I just want to keep seeing it for us to stop calling for your seat. But right now, just show me more.
Show us more. Let's keep it rolling. As we've said earlier, the Jags now travel to London for 2 straight weeks. They have a quote unquote technically away game coming up against the Bears in London. And we're going to break that down in the next episode. So make sure you hit subscribe on whatever podcast platform you're listening to or on YouTube. So you make sure that you get all of our content. Hey, let's celebrate this win. We haven't gotten one of these in a minute of a 5-star rating and review. We want to give you a shout out. It's one of our favorite things to do. And so drop a 5-star rating or review on Apple Podcasts and let us know what you're excited about for the win. Or, hey, tell us whatever you want or drop some questions for us. We just love interacting with you all, the fans. That's why we love getting to hang out together as brothers, but also to do this for you all. So finally, we get to stop saying booval at the end and we get to celebrate in the right way. Ball.